In the shadowed hills of northern Scotland, far from the noise of cities, lived a young man named Elias Kane. He was 31, quiet, and carried the kind of stillness that made people uncomfortable. They called him the listener behind his back, not because he was particularly kind, but because he never interrupted, never gossiped, never defended himself, never explained. Most people thought he was shy. The few who knew better understood he was terrified. 3 years earlier, on a freezing December night, Elias had been alone in his small stone cottage when the voice came. Not a whisper, not a thought, a voice that felt like it was carved into the marrow of his bones. Elias. He dropped the mug of tea. It shattered across the slate floor, and he didn't even look at the pieces. From this night forward, you belong to the silence I place upon you. What I am about to do in your generation, no mouth shall spoil. If you speak of the things I show you before the hour, I will require your breath. He had fallen to his knees, not out of reverence, but because his lungs refused to fill. The voice continued, calm, final, like the closing of an ancient vault. Many will come to you with questions. Many will press you to explain the dreams, the signs, the sudden shifts in the atmosphere. You will feel the pressure like a blade against your throat. But hear me clearly, son of dust. Shut your mouth. Then silence. Deafening, holy, suffocating silence. The next morning, the first dream came. He saw a golden chain being lowered from heaven into the middle of a great city. On the chain hung a single key made of fire. When the key touched the ground, every screen in the city went black at once. Not broken, not hacked, simply absent, as though electricity had forgotten how to exist for those devices. People screamed. Some fell to their knees. Others became violently angry, as though the silence of the screens had personally insulted them. And in the center of the chaos stood one figure, a woman in white, holding nothing, saying nothing, just looking upward with tears running down her face. Elias woke up, gasping. Over the next 22 months, the dreams never stopped. He saw rivers turning the color of blood in places where no pollution existed, children waking up speaking languages no one on earth had heard for 3,000 years, entire forests drying up in hours while the trees screamed in voices like breaking violins, a black wind that only moved through churches and left behind the smell of ancient incense, a single star falling slowly, deliberately, like it had chosen where to die. And always, always, the same woman in white, never speaking, only watching. Elias stopped going into town. People started coming to him instead. First it was neighbors, then strangers from Edinburgh, then people who flew in from New York, Cape Town, Seoul, Sao Paulo. They all asked the same things. Are the dreams real? What is God doing? Why is everything suddenly so loud inside our souls? Are we the generation that sees the end? Are we the generation that sees the beginning again? And every time, Elias felt the invisible blade press harder against his windpipe. He would look at them, eyes burning, and slowly shake his head. No words, never words. Some understood. They would weep and leave in reverence. Others became furious. "You think you're special?" one man shouted, red-faced, slamming his fist on Elias's table. "You think God chose you and left the rest of us in the dark? Speak, damn you!" Elias only stared at the floor. Another woman screamed at him in the yard one rainy afternoon. "If you really saw something, why won't you warn us? You're selfish, you're cruel." The pressure in his throat became physical that day. He tasted blood. He dropped to the wet grass and vomited crimson while the woman watched in horror, then ran away. After that night, the visitors changed. Now they came with cameras, with threats, with bribes, with fake tears. One man offered him £2 million if he would just say something, anything, on video. Elias looked at the thick envelope, then at the man's eyes, and slowly closed the door. That same night, the voice returned. One sentence: "They want your mouth because they cannot stand my silence." Elias wept until dawn. Then came the final dream. No chaos, no falling stars, no screaming trees, just a vast, endless room of white marble. In the center stood the woman in white. She turned to him, and for the first time she spoke. Her voice was soft, tired, ancient, and kind. "Elias," she said, "the hour is finished." She lifted her hand. On her palm lay the key of fire. She closed her fingers around it. The moment she did, Elias felt something leave his throat, like a chain snapping. He could breathe freely for the first time in almost 3 years. He woke up crying, not from pain, but from relief. The next morning, he walked into the nearest village. People stared, some whispered. A teenage girl, maybe 16, stepped forward bravely. "Are you finally going to tell us what you saw?" Elias looked at her, really looked. Then he opened his mouth and spoke the first words in 3 years. His voice was rough, cracked, almost unfamiliar to himself. He said only 6 words: "He is coming back very soon." Then he turned and walked away. Behind him, the girl started crying, not from fear, from something much deeper. And somewhere, in a place no human eye could see, the golden chain began to move again, this time faster, much faster. And the silence, the terrible, holy silence, was finally ready to be broken. Not by many voices, not by explanations, not by prophecies shouted from rooftops, but by one, the only one who ever truly had the right to speak. And when he does, no mouth will be able to stay shut, whether in terror or joy or awe. The silence is ending, and the chosen ones who kept their mouths shut until the hour, they will finally be allowed to scream his name, and the whole earth will hear it. In the mist-shrouded valleys of northern Scotland, where the ancient Highlands whispered secrets to the wind, lived Elias Kane. He was a man of 31 years, with hair the color of weathered oak and eyes that held the depth of forgotten locks. Elias had grown up in the shadow of Ben Nevis, the tallest mountain in the British Isles, in a small village called Glenfinnan. His father had been a shepherd, his mother a weaver of tales from Celtic lore, but both had passed when he was young, leaving him alone in a world that felt too vast and too silent. He worked as a stonemason, repairing the crumbling walls of old castles and crofts, his hands calloused from years of shaping rock that had outlasted empires. People in the village knew him as the quiet one. Not rude, not aloof, just silent. He nodded greetings, helped with heavy loads without being asked, and vanished into his stone cottage at dusk. Whispers followed him. "Elias hears things in the wind," they'd say, half joking, but no one pressed him. In the Highlands, silence was respected, like the fog that hid dangers on the moors. That all changed on a bitter December night 3 years ago. The year was 2023, and the world outside Scotland was unraveling. Wars in distant lands, skies choked with smoke from wildfires, economies crumbling like dry leaves. But in Elias's cottage, the only sound was the crackle of his peat fire and the distant howl of wind through the pines. He was sipping tea from a chipped mug, staring into the flames, when the voice shattered the quiet. It wasn't audible in the air. It resonated inside him, vibrating through his bones like the toll of a great bell buried deep in the earth. Elias. The mug slipped from his fingers, shattering on the slate floor. Hot tea splashed his boots, but he didn't flinch. His heart hammered as if trying to escape his chest.
I have chosen you from among the sons of men. From this night forward, you belong to the silence I place upon you. What I am about to reveal in your generation, the unraveling and the remaking, no mouth shall spoil. If you speak of the things I show you before the appointed hour, I will require your breath as payment." Elias collapsed to his knees, gasping. The air in the room grew thick, heavy, as if the atmosphere itself had turned to lead. His throat constricted, a phantom noose tightening just enough to remind him of the cost. The voice continued, unyielding, eternal. "The world clamors for answers, but I speak in signs and shadows. Many will come to you, drawn to the light I kindle in your eyes. They will beg, threaten, and weep for words. You will feel the blade of temptation against your throat. But hear me clearly, child of clay. Shut your mouth. My silence is your shield. Break it, and you invite the storm upon yourself and upon them." Then, as suddenly as it came, the voice withdrew. The fire popped back to life, the wind outside softened, but Elias remained on the floor until dawn, trembling. He tasted salt on his lips, tears he hadn't realized he'd shed. The first dream descended that very morning as he lay exhausted on his bed. In it, he stood on a vast plain under a sky bruised with storm clouds. From the heavens, a golden chain descended, link by link, gleaming like molten sunlight. At its end dangled a key forged of living fire, flames twisting in shapes that whispered forgotten names. The key touched the earth in the heart of a sprawling metropolis, New York perhaps, or Tokyo. The buildings were a blur of steel and glass, and the moment it made contact, every digital screen in the city flickered and died. Billboards, smartphones, traffic lights, all went black, not with a spark or explosion, but with an eerie finality, as if the very concept of light had been erased from them. Chaos erupted. Crowds surged like waves crashing against rocks. Some screamed in terror, clutching at darkened devices as if they were lifelines severed. Others dropped to their knees, murmuring prayers in a dozen languages. A few laughed maniacally, smashing windows in futile rage. And in the epicenter, untouched by the pandemonium, stood a woman in a flowing white robe. She held nothing, said nothing, just gazed upward, tears carving silent paths down her cheeks. Her eyes held a sorrow that spanned centuries, a knowing that pierced Elias's soul.
He awoke drenched in sweat, his throat raw as if he'd been screaming, but no sound had escaped him. The dreams multiplied like shadows at twilight. Night after night they came, each more vivid, more unsettling than the last. One night he dreamed of rivers across the globe turning crimson, not from blood or dye, but from an inner light that pulsed like a heartbeat. In the Amazon, the Nile, the Thames, waters ran red, and fish leaped ashore, gasping, their scales shimmering with unnatural fire. Villagers along the banks fell ill, not with poison, but with visions that drove them mad, glimpses of ancient battles, forgotten gods, and futures unwritten. Another dream brought the children. In schools and streets worldwide, infants and toddlers awoke speaking in tongues long extinct, Sumerian incantations, Atlantean hymns, languages etched in clay tablets buried millennia ago. Their small voices echoed with power, causing electronics to short-circuit and adults to weep in confusion. Governments scrambled, calling it a viral hoax, but Elias knew better. Then came the forests, vast woodlands, the Black Forest in Germany, the taiga of Siberia, the redwoods of California, withered in hours. Leaves crisped and fell like ash, trunks split with screams that mimicked shattering violins. Birds fled in terror, and the air filled with the scent of burning myrrh, though no fire burned.
A black wind followed in another vision, sweeping only through places of worship. Cathedrals, mosques, temples, it entered like a thief, leaving behind the aroma of ancient incense and whispers that lingered in the ears of priests and pilgrims. Some claimed to hear angelic choirs, others demonic taunts. The most terrifying was the falling star, not a meteor, but a deliberate descent, a brilliant orb plummeting slowly toward a desert plain, choosing its impact site with sentient precision. Upon striking, it birthed a crater that bloomed with ethereal flowers, petals unfolding to reveal eyes that watched the world. Through every dream wove the woman in white, always silent, always observing, her presence a thread binding the visions. Who was she? An angel? A prophet? Elias's own soul manifested? He dared not guess. He withdrew from the world, stopped his stonemason work, living off savings and the sparse garden behind his cottage. The villagers noticed first, his absence at the pub, the market. Whispers grew, Elias has gone mad, or he's seen a ghost on the moors. Then the strangers arrived. It started small. A neighbor, old Mrs. MacLeod, knocked one rainy afternoon. "Lad, you look like you've seen the end of days. What's troubling you?" Elias opened the door, his eyes hollow. He wanted to pour out everything, the voice, the dreams, the warnings. But as he parted his lips, the invisible blade pressed against his throat, cold and sharp. He shook his head, closed the door gently. Word spread. Soon, people from Edinburgh came, academics, curious about Highland visions. Then internationals, a journalist from New York, sensing a story. A spiritual seeker from Cape Town, drawn by rumors online. A businessman from Seoul, hoping for divine stock tips. They camped outside his cottage, some polite, others demanding. "Are the dreams prophecies?" a young woman from Sao Paulo pleaded, her eyes wide. "Is God angry with us?" Elias felt the pressure build, a vice around his neck. He shook his head, retreating inside. As months turned to years, the dreams mirrored real events. News reports trickled in, unexplained blackouts in major cities, rivers discolored by algal blooms that defied science, children babbling in archaic languages dismissed as memes. The world edged toward hysteria, and Elias became a reluctant beacon. The visitors evolved, reporters with hidden cameras, conspiracy theorists with wild theories, wealthy patrons offering fortunes. One evening, a slick man in a tailored suit arrived by helicopter. "Mr. Kane, I'm from a foundation in Silicon Valley. We believe you're connected. £2 million for an exclusive interview, on video. The world needs to know." Elias stared at the envelope, thick with promise. His cottage leaked in the rain, his savings dwindled, but the blade tightened, drawing a bead of blood he could taste. He shut the door. That night, the voice returned briefly. "They crave your words because they fear my silence. Endure, chosen one." Elias wept, pounding the floor until his fists bled. Persecution followed, anonymous threats online. "Speak or we'll make you." A brick through his window. Villagers turned wary, some shunning him as cursed. A woman from the village, Fiona, whom he'd known since childhood, confronted him in the yard during a storm. "Elias, if you've seen something, warn us. Your silence is killing us all." As he tried to respond, anything to ease her pain, the constriction became agony. He collapsed, vomiting blood onto the mud. Fiona fled in horror, spreading tales of demonic possession. 2 years passed in this torment. Elias aged a decade, his hair streaked gray, his frame gaunt. The dreams intensified, blending into waking hours. He saw wars halted by sudden eclipses, oceans parting for hidden cities to rise, and always the woman in white, her gaze growing urgent. Then the final dream.
No apocalypse, no wonders, just an infinite hall of white marble, echoing with unseen footsteps. The woman stood there, her robe shimmering like moonlight on water. For the first time, she turned fully to him. Her face was timeless, young yet ancient, beautiful yet scarred by unseen sorrows. "Elias," she whispered, her voice a melody of wind chimes and thunder. "The hour is fulfilled. The silence lifts." She extended her hand. In her palm burned the fiery key from the first dream. "The key of revelation," she said. "It unlocks what was sealed. Speak now, for he approaches." She closed her fingers, and the key vanished in a burst of light. Elias felt the chain around his throat shatter. Air rushed in, sweet and free. He awoke laughing through tears, his voice testing the air like a bird fledged. The next dawn, he strode into Glenfinnan, villagers gaping as if at a ghost. A crowd gathered at the village square. The teenage girl, Isla, stepped forward. "Elias, will ye speak now?" He met her eyes, then the others. His voice, rusty from disuse, rang clear. "He is coming back very soon. The signs you've seen, they're his heralds. Prepare your hearts, for the silence breaks with his voice." Gasps rippled, some knelt, others fled. Isla wept, not in fear, but in profound relief. News spread like wildfire. Elias became a figure of legend overnight. Interviews, books, pilgrimages. But he spoke sparingly, only what was needed. For in the unseen realms, the golden chain quickened its descent. The woman in white? Some say she was wisdom incarnate. Others, the church, awaiting her bridegroom. The chosen ones, those like Elias who would shut their mouths in obedience, now whispered his name across the earth. And as the world trembled on the brink, one truth echoed. When he speaks, no silence can hold. The end? No, the beginning. For he is deadly serious about his word, and the earth will roar with it.